Hello, everybody. This is Crowded Table, and welcome to a brand new video. So, scams are the bane of everybody's existence, but the most insidious of scams are the ones that had pretensions of legitimacy. Here's how I almost fell victim to the bullshit. Well, ever since I was a teen, I aspired to be an author. I was so gung ho about it that I deluded myself into thinking that I could make it as one without much of a strategy. But if you ask authors who have made it, there are generally three little things that you need in your arsenal. First of all, are obviously the works. You need at least five short stories and two manuscripts under your belt. Authoring is hard, and your debut novel would usually come out 10 years after slaving away with rewrites and re-edits and whatever the hell kind of doohickey you need to contend with. This is not for fun though, because publishing companies need to figure out what your niche is. You know, you just don't go about breaking into the industry you know, and just say I'm an author. Yeah, what kind of author are you? Are you a YA author or anything like that? Are you a mystery author? They needed some sort of thing to gauge what exactly your specialty is. Second of all, would be the network. You know somebody close to you who have made it as an author and can hook you up with a literary agent. Now, this is especially true for me because well, you'll find out soon enough. And thirdly would be the research. You have to do as much research about the industry as you possibly could, you know, so that you could, you know, not be scammed and exploited, which ultimately meant that you don't visit the first publisher website that graced your Google search results. As you may have predicted, I did none of those things, and with that, we go straight into the bullshit. So, it was 2016. I was three semesters into my diploma, and in my infinite wisdom, I decided to put my horribly incomplete manuscript out to the world, or rather, a close circle of friends to test out the manuscript. They all said it was fine, though in retrospect, I suppose they only read 2 pages of the manuscript and they decided to call it a day and pick up a real book with real substance. Being high on my own farts, I decided to finish the manuscript, and in the meantime, I was Googling what publishing house would get me into the world of publishing. Well, that's when I discovered this Singapore based publishing house. I don't want to get into legal trouble for saying the name of the company, but just know that they are a vanity press who are under the Author's Solution brand. And if any of you knew what that meant, it meant that, yep, they are essentially a vanity press. But what are vanity presses? Well, they are essentially publishing companies that want to have their cake and eat it too. They claim to help authors to self-publish, but they also state that they will take a cut of your royalties as well. So essentially, they work as kind of like an amalgamation of helping you self-publish, but they still act as if they are a traditional publisher. Which, if you ever encountered these sort of companies, stay very far away from them because they are essentially a scam. And yeah, yeah. In retrospect, I am a really, really, really dumb person for wanting to be associated with them. Okay, they claim to help us. Yeah, like I said before, they claim to help authors to self-publish, but they also state that they will take a cut of your royalty as well. So what they are essentially selling you is the idea that you are a published author, when really they just send you thousands of copies of your book and say, "Here, deal with the crap yourself," and we spent no less than $7 on printing out the book. We are essentially giving you these books to toss into the trash. There's this video by David Stewart explaining the whole process, because trust me when I say he explained the process much more succinctly than I ever will. So I will include the link in the description below. So why? So yeah, one of the main reasons why they are called vanity presses is because they prey on young authors' vanity and delusions of grandeur. So upon finding the website, I filled in my information and I submitted the manuscript. No less than a week later, I received an email from the publishing company. I'll never forget that they mentioned that my manuscript was so good that the manuscript requires no changes. That is, in hindsight, the biggest red flag you could ever say to an author. Because if you are a legitimate publishing house, let's just say your first draft of your first novel, it's not going to be immediately great. There's still going to be this entire bullshit process of writing and rewriting and polishing and all that kind of stuff. You know? So, needless to say, I was hyped. And then 2 days later, the calls rolling in. They kept congratulating me for being so young yet courageous to put my creative work out there. Then they start calling me at almost hourly basis. They even called me while I was attending lectures. Then they start demanding some itty bitty changes. My goodness. Then they demanded that the word death be excised from my manuscript because it was disturbing. Now, for context, this manuscript deals with the fact that the Green Reaper is attempting to console a grieving insomniac who, because he was so riddled with the guilt of killing his best friend out of jealousy, and whose body has yet to be found, has lost the ability to sleep at night. So this occurred about 2 months after the events. So death is kind of a major theme of the manuscript. I then asked for the daily calls to cease and to only contact me once every 3 months. They subsequently and absolutely bombarded my emails with the demands of changes as well as promotions to join the author's solution web seminar bullshit. It was bad. So I had to contend with this all the way until, no joke, last year. I had to deal with this for 5 years. That was garbage. So the last straw came in when, in a stupor, I deleted the manuscript. The whole thing. In hindsight, I was glad I did that, but I almost lost my mind because this thing I've been working on for almost 5 years now was deleted before my very eyes. All the tiny little changes I made into the manuscript, yeah, it's kaput. I don't even have the good sense to back up the folders. The folder reverted to the form it was in almost 3 months prior. And if you know how difficult it is to get the creative juices back, flowing back, yeah, it's absolutely hell. I then deleted the manuscript because I just wanted to move on. Um, yeah. So what ended up happening was that I deleted all of the changes that I have made over the past 3 months, and I was so frustrated by it. I essentially deleted the manuscript. Fuck everything at this point, you know? And why did I delete this? Well, as mentioned before, I wanted to move on, and I'm going to go through a teacher's apprenticeship program as part of the requirements for my degree studies. But even then, I refuse to give up this, you know, dream of wanting to be published by this company. With 2 weeks left before I go on the apprenticeship, I hastily concocted a brand new manuscript about two vampire hunters who hunted down other vampires. The vampire hunters consisted of a lady and a bald, pudgy man. The lady lived through the Avignon Papacy, while the guy was a World War One veteran who pickled people in drums because he was new to the whole vampire thing. Yeah, I highly yeah the bald pudgy guy. I highly like insinuate that he's Bela Keys, the serial killer during World War One who was found pickling women in drum vats. Yeah. So at this point, my mom was essentially listening in on my conversations because it's COVID. It's COVID, and I'm still remote learning, and well, we're not allowed to go back to the campus yet. Wanted to help out with the publishing money, but she told me to Google more about the company. I did, and after reading some unsavory reviews for the publisher, I essentially began cutting all ties with the publishing company. I deactivated my previous Google account, and you know, and I did that because I don't want to be spammed by the company anymore. And yeah, because of that, I didn't have to fork out any sort of money. But I do still feel scammed because I wasted 5 years of my life developing something to be uh, that's going to be dumped onto the world anyway without much forethought, even though I've put all my heart and soul into it. Yeah. So, was I hurt by this experience? No. Was I pissed off? Yeah, but not at the company, but rather by my lack of due diligence and the fact that I must rope my family and friends into what is essentially a scam. I'm sure if I didn't heed my mom's warning, I would still be dealing with the financial fallout as well as the headache with the, intentionally complicated bureaucracy of the scam. You know? I'm doing all this to say that getting into the publishing world is hard. You have to grind away for years, and few succeeded despite everything. I tip my hat to those who managed to pull through this complicated feat, because it's no small feat. Do I plan on still becoming an author? Yeah, but I know I still have to develop a kind of like repertoire of things. So, and I was so burnt from last year's experience that I don't know. I just lost some of the passion. I'm trying to get it back, but I don't know anymore. I just don't have the creative